Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill see Elon Musk as a savior from what they consider to be conservative censorship on Twitter.
Let's take a look at what's happening right now at the corner of Wall and Broad. The exact same thing was happening this morning because there's no trading today. Last time we left you, it was down 113 points. And the big reason, the fear of rising interest rates. Ken Fisher will be joining us, of Fisher Investments Pain, because he is one of those who kind of zigs when others zag. He's become a multi-billionaire in the process, precisely because he does. But he says this trepidation over rising interest rates, it's not automatically bad for stocks. In fact, more often than not, it's good for stocks. Or at least the stocks do very, very well in the face of those rising interest rates. He's coming up in just a little bit. In the meantime, the latest in the drama with Elon Musk and whether he has a plan B. He says he does have a plan B in case it looks like Twitter is going to decline his offer. It's sort of looking that way amid talk that there's a behind-the-scenes effort to develop a poison pill to keep the world's richest man from taking him over. Kelly O'Grady following this drama from Los Angeles. Hey, Kelly.
Hi, Neil. Well, yes, Elon Musk's largest shareholder title didn't last long. That's some of the news that's coming out today. The Vanguard Group bumping him from that top spot. And we're learning the billionaire may not be the only bidder. Reports are surfacing that private equity firm Thoma Bravo is potentially considering an acquisition as well. However, they didn't respond to our request for confirmation. And strong opposition is forming, as you said. There are reports Twitter may be considering a poison pill to prevent Musk from taking over. The move would essentially ruin the company financially by diluting shares so much they are devalued. But Elon is leveraging his Twitter influence to rally support and put pressure on bringing this offer to shareholders. In response to a tweet from one of the Winklevoss twins, Musk warned of titanic liability if the board breaches their fiduciary duty. And so Elon's making it clear, the board is supposed to work for the best interests of all shareholders, not just the board or management. And he's right, they are obligated to do that. Whether the board makes the same assessment has yet to be seen. And in yesterday's explosive TED conference interview, Elon also made it clear that social platforms, for their part, have the responsibility to protect free speech and promote transparency.
Having it be unclear who's making what changes to who, to where, having tweets sort of mysteriously be promoted and demoted with no insight into what's going on, having a black box algorithm promote some things and not other things, I think this can be quite dangerous.
Now, in that interview, Elon also cryptically hinted at that plan B that you mentioned. He also stated, though, that if they reject the offer, he would have to reconsider his shareholder position. Now, if Musk dumps Twitter stock, we could potentially see a drop in share price just as quickly as it rose with this investment. Neil?
All right. Thank you very, very much for that, Kelly. Let's get the read right now. Hillary Vaughn on the regulatory side of this, just because he might be spending his own money to try to take over Twitter doesn't mean that the Securities and Exchange Commission and a host of other key players, including the Justice Department, can't and won't weigh in. In fact, they're salivating at the prospect they can and will. Hillary, what's the latest?
Neil, that's exactly right. The SEC could be scrutinizing this potential deal between Elon Musk and Twitter. But in the meantime, Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill see Elon Musk as a savior from what they consider to be conservative censorship on Twitter. If his offer to buy the social media platform is accepted, the chairman of the Republican Study Committee, Congressman Jim Banks, wrote this letter to Musk last week urging him to make changes to the platform, pitching it as good business, writing this, quote, "Now that you are Twitter's single largest shareholder, I urge you to advocate for revising Twitter's content policy to allow all speech that is both lawful and factually accurate. Prohibiting true statements is systematic lying, and Twitter's dishonesty has seriously damaged the company's image." But some Republicans are skeptical that Twitter will relinquish control to Musk.
I don't think they'll let this go forward, because if they do, then they can't suppress the Hunter Biden story. Then they can't kick President Trump off of Twitter. They can't do all the things that they want to do and they've been doing. So I don't think they'll let it go forward.
But if they do accept the bid, House Democrats are making it clear their eyes are on Elon. Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky, the chair of the House Energy and Commerce Committee Consumer Protection Panel telling Politico if Musk makes major changes to content moderation rules, users may rebel, saying this: shepherding a social media platform is a huge responsibility. We will hold whoever accepts that responsibility accountable to the American people, including Elon Musk. While my hope would be that they would enforce those terms better, I can't see those users reacting well if they are suddenly dramatically changed. But Neil, if Twitter does reject Elon Musk's bid, there is going to be still scrutiny on the platform. A lot of GOP lawmakers will be chomping at the bit to see and dig into if that reason is proof or further proof of political bias at Twitter. Neil?
All right. I guess the bottom line, it won't be easy for him. Hillary Vaughn, thank you very, very much. Gary Kaltbaum following all of this. Gary, of course, this occurs at a time when we're not seeing a whole lot of interest on the part of individuals to take over companies, let alone companies looking to take over companies. That has almost gone to a halt. Normally, that is a sign that, corporate America is getting increasingly skittish. Where do you see things?
It's a tough market right now for buyouts, IPOs, private equity, and you're seeing it in droves. Last year was a free-for-all. I think the best thing Elon Musk has going for him, if he backed away and sold his stock, the stock has gone back to $31 where it was at the recent lows. And if you want shareholders to be up in arms, that'll be a point in time. And as they say, the money does talk. So we're in the first chapter here. My problem is the markets right now does not think a deal's happening. It was a $54 cash offer,
right.
Opens at 48, closes at 45. There was some downgrades also, so the institutions don't believe it. And I'm probably in that camp right now. I think somebody else may come along if it gets tougher, but as of right now, I think it may be a non-starter.
I'm glad you mentioned that, too. When we look at this offer, the 54.20 share offer here, that's how we come up with the $41.3 billion figure. That's the money that, Elon Musk would have to spend to make it happen. We all know him, Gary, to be the world's richest man. That's obvious. But, it's all tied up in stock for the most part, namely Tesla stock, even though he has a 50% stake in this private venture, space.com. So he could at least borrow against that. But, I mean, it's not automatic, right? I mean, explain the process, what he would have to do.
Well, number one, Tesla stock was down $37 yesterday, a little bit of a discount in there based on the fact, what if he does have to sell? But look, bottom line is if the deal gets through, you still have very cheap money, even though it's up. He'll look to borrow it one way or the other. He can also, trade in Tesla stock towards it, do like a little combination. The great Charles Gasparino brought that up on a tweet earlier. But again, I think this is going to take a long while. It's not going to happen very quickly. I think there's going to be a lot of people else out there going to come at it in a certain way. I think somebody already overnight started talking about it. And look, it's all coming down now to free speech, which is now front and center. There's a lot of people, a ton of people that think there's a crisis out there. That's how Parler came out. That's how Getter. You have Peter Thiel started, I believe, Rumble to compete with YouTube for more free speech. So,
but none of them have done financially well, Gary. Whatever your views on the fairness of social media and all, I get that, but certainly they've not been successful financially. That could change, could take a while. What do you make of it?
They're a fly on an elephant's you-know-what as of this moment. It's just, look, when you get out front and center, when you're a Twitter, when you're a Facebook, which changed their name, very tough to compete. And you're seeing it in droves right now that you don't even hear it. And the president's, the truth that he came out with, that's not working so well just yet also. So it's a rough road to compete with these behemoths. And Twitter does know that. And that's one thing in their favor at this juncture.
Gary, it's interesting, and you quite accurately, alluded to the failure of the Twitter stock to rocket yesterday on this deal. In fact, it didn't do anything. And if there was sort of like a spillover effect that people were anticipating for other social media / technology stocks, that didn't materialize either. So what do you make of technology? If it couldn't benefit an environment right now where out of the blue you get a bidding war for, a not so hot, tech player, and there's no response among other tech players, what do we make of that?
Well, it's a great question because the market will dictate a lot of this, and technology has been in a brutal bear market. Before this recent rally, 50% of NASDAQ stocks were down 50% or more, including, by the way, Twitter was down, I believe, over 50%. And that works against Twitter and the rest of these companies. And I always say to you, Neil, I am a technology guy. I'm a growth guy. I own no technology stocks right now over the last few months for the first time in my history because they're just under brutal pressure. The market's turned into a commodity type love fest because of the inflation trade and a remarkable spike in interest rates here, and everything growth in technology is getting the comeuppance of 13 years of magnificence. By the way, the XLK, which is the technology ETF, at its high was up 12-fold since the lows of 09. I'm going to think that's a little bit too far too fast, and I think earnings are going to have to catch up. Eventually they will, but right now it's every day, and you saw it again yesterday, the big money crowd is just selling it into everything, and that includes the big guys right now, like Microsoft, Amazon, Google, even Apple looks like it can get into trouble as we go into earnings season. Yeah,
those multiples change mightily in the face of higher interest rates, where even the numbers don't look good any other quarter or after a quarter don't look nearly as good when you factor in the impact of rates getting steadily higher. We'll have to watch it closely. Gary, thank you very much. See you a bit later in the show. Again, technology stocks joined the rest of the markets to have a down week this past week. So what could happen next week? A lot depends on what's going on in Ukraine right now.
Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill see Elon Musk as a savior from what they consider to be conservative censorship on Twitter. Republican lawmakers on Capitol Hill see Elon Musk as a savior, 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 a savior.